Good afternoon, everyone. I tried to learn how to say good afternoon, everyone, in Norwegian, and Espen laughed at me because it was such bad Norwegian. I decided to stick with English. I want to say thank you for inviting me to come and be with you, and I want to say how grateful I am that you're giving me your time and attention. I feel that this is a very great gift, and I will do my best to make good use of your time and attention. Obviously, I'm an American, and I am here to talk to you about aging, not because America does a good job with aging. In fact, the opposite is true. America does a very bad job with providing a life of dignity to frail older people. Instead, I'm here to talk to you mainly as a physician and as a human being, because it is my belief that no matter what country we come from or what our experience is, old age holds many challenges in common for all of us. Whether it is in Norway or the United States or Australia or Mexico, old age has many similar challenges. So I could spend all day telling you about the problems that we have in America with services for older people, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to spend this brief time we have together telling you about my research and my work and why I believe that we have identified something that is important to the joy of life, to the well-being, to the clinical care of older people. In the United States, I began my work on aging in the early 1990s. I had been working as an emergency room doctor in a specialized hospital, and I was very happy because I was being held in high esteem, and there was a television program called ER, and I thought maybe someday I'd be a real big shot. It turned out that I took a part-time job in a nursing home only because I could make a little extra money. And I went to the nursing home and I did my work, and a very unexpected thing happened. I fell in love. I fell in love with the elders. I fell in love with the people who care for the elders, and I opened up my mind and my heart to a new possibility, and I changed my profession and became a geriatrician. In my early months of practice as a geriatrician, I was taken to see a very old woman in a nursing home because she had a rash on her arm. And I went to her bedside, and I examined her arm, and I knew the diagnosis, and I knew the treatment, and I told her what I was going to do, and I prepared to leave. And this very old woman, lying in bed, her hair was the same color as the sheets. Her skin was very thin. Her eyes were very blue. This woman took a hold of my arm and she pulled me down over the bed so that I was looking right into her face. And right here, right now in Trondheim, if I close my eyes, I can see her face. And she said to me, "I am so lonely." And I didn't know what to say to her. I couldn't couldn't answer her. I could take care of the rash on her arm. But what could I do about loneliness? And I began to read and to think and to ask questions. And I discovered that even though this nursing home gave the right medicines and the right treatments, gave the right food, that the people inside this place were dying of loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. That these were 3 plagues that were killing people, and people were suffering, and we did nothing for them. If a person's blood sugar was 10 points too high, we had a plan to deal with it. But if an old woman is dying of loneliness, we did nothing. Soon afterward, I had a patient who passed away, and he'd lost his wife and lost his only living child, and he died. And when I filled out the form, the death certificate, and sent it into the government, I wrote on the diagnosis, he died of a broken heart. The government sent it back to me, circled in red. This is not a proper diagnosis. So I changed it to congestive heart failure. But the truth is, he died of a broken heart. I began to see that the environments, the institutions we had created to take care of older people were actually harming the people inside, because the institution demanded that the elders change and conform and fit to the institution. And I began to dream of a future where the institution would change and conform and fit to the elder. I began to realize that I was being part of a system that was creating sterile hospitals for frail old people. That the spark of life, the joy, was not to be found within those walls. And so I began to dream of an alternative. I began to dream of a place that people could live that would be more like a garden and less like a hospital. And that dream became something that we call the EdenAlternative. And the meaning is very simple. Life is better in a garden. That's it. If you have a choice to live in a hospital or live in a garden, what would you choose? I also began to question my society's vision of aging. The American vision of aging says that aging equals decline. That to age is to decline. That the only important thing about older people is the degree of their decline. In fact, in America, sometimes people make jokes with you when you turn 40 and 50 and 60, saying, you're over the hill now. Woo, woo, woo. It's all downhill from here. Well, I began to question that attitude, because the people I was working with and the people I was taking care of and the people I was surrounded by, these were living human beings. They were not agents of decline. They were people who had the potential to grow. And so I began to advocate for a different vision of aging, a developmental idea of aging that says, when we look at childhood, we think, how do we help the children grow? When we look at adulthood, We say, how do we help adults mature and grow and develop? When we look at elders, we must say, how do we help the elders to grow? The difference between declinism and developmental aging is as vast as the ocean. If you organize a service or an institution or a program and you design it to manage the decline of older people, you wind up with a program or a service or an organization that does not have the kind of warmth and kindness and tenderness that we all seek in our lives. When you design a program or an organization to foster the growth of elders, when you do that, you create a place where warmth and loving kindness are possible. Not just possible, where they are important. So the ideas we start with are vitally important. And the second thing we learned is that every care setting in every community, in every neighborhood, in every municipality, everywhere, is different. It isn't and shouldn't be standardized, and it is impossible for one person to tell every care environment everywhere how they should be. So instead of trying to convince people to change and do things the way we would tell them to do, we decided instead to create basic principles, basic ideas that people could apply in their own municipality, in their own community. And my time with you is limited, and